let's get to the road. What happened yesterday? Let's just give it a quick preview. What do you take home from yesterday?
What elated my heart was just the organization that went behind to make the event a success.
Yes.
It was stellar. It was something that even the whole country can look at and actually become very grateful that we have been able to come a long way. And I think this is a major learning point for the region. We can be very proud as Kenyans in terms of what we have been able to achieve. Actually, I was impressed by the level of coordination and the military execution. If you look at the first, the passing on of the late President Daniel Arap Moi, the conduct of the military in the passing of the late President Mwai Kibaki, and yesterday's occasion, you can actually see level of precision and organization and joyfulness that Kenyans had in terms of better organization.
Yeah. And perhaps nobody thought that President Kenyatta would attend. There were a lot of doubts whether he would attend or not, but weren't you? He was there the entire session.
Yes, and I think that is the maturity that we're talking about, the democratic maturity that we've been able to see. And you could actually look at the social media comments that were coming up, and other countries, you know, citizens were saying, you know, we hope we could also, Kenyans would also have the opportunity to see the transitions and inaugurations in other countries.
Yes.
Meaning that the maturity that the former head of state exhibited, and the whole successive handover, the conduct of the assumption of office team that put together the whole event, I think it is commendable and it is remarkable. The graciousness of the incoming government, and even the speech that the president put forward, I think that showed a level of maturity and a level of a high standard, I think, even for our regional and international partners, to see that we have come a long way.
All right. Tobias, what do you take home yesterday? It's over now.
Yep.
Rubber meets the road.
Firstly, I think what we saw yesterday is a demonstration of a united country, and the fact that we showed the world that we are a country that has progressed in our democracy. Whether one group voted for the president or not, he is now the president of the country, and we need to work and rally behind him and support him. To our counterparts in the region, I think is also demonstrated that elections can be done in a more peaceful way. The key organs that look into the elections can work effectively without any fear or intimidation. The judiciary, the electoral commission, the security agency, and we can have a peaceful transition. So it's a lesson to other regions also that they need to work towards peaceful transition.
Yes.
But now the rubber meets the road. We are here to work and support the president in his agenda.
Because based on what he said yesterday, it's all systems go. To him, there is no any minute left for to be wasted. There is no holiday. It's service delivery right now. But coming from what's happening yesterday at the Moi Center Kasarani, we would see a huge crowd, as reports would take it, that as early as 4 a.m. The stadium was packed. Is this what you mean by peaceful transition compared to other years?
There is, in every election, there is excitement.
Yes.
Excitement because elections are normally very tense. And so one part definitely has to win. And that part, one wing of our people have to celebrate. We have to give them that chance to celebrate the win. But after celebration, definitely we have to come together and say what is ahead of us. We need to sit together and work together to achieve what is ahead of us. But seeing people coming early in the morning, it's typically an enthusiasm that was witnessed because of the tension we had in the past. And probably many people didn't believe that His Excellency William Ruto would win.
Yeah.
So the fact that he won, that brings that excitement to his many supporters.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And I don't know, when you even actually look at how the whole event was planned, again, the transfer of power, the precision by the military you've talked about. In 2017, by the time there was handing over power, another team was in court. There were demonstrations all over. But this time around, either you are at Kasarani or you are at home.
Yes, I think we can look at it from history. In 2002, when President Mwai Kibaki was coming in, and President Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi was handing over power. And you remember the unbogable feel, you know, and you know how Kenyans were, you know, erratic, ecstatic, you know. The euphoria that was actually in that handover was momentous, you know, because President Kibaki came in, you know, on a wheelchair because he had come from an accident, you know. And so you can see the joy that happens, especially when you're getting to that 10-year mark after the presidency. You looked at what happened in 2013 when now the Jubilee duo, you know, the President Kenyatta and Ruto, that time as the deputy, were coming in. And you can see the joy that was there. Evidently, whenever there is a very strong and spirited campaign, the excitement is always there. However, we understand that beyond the excitement, there is now work to be done. And that's why you find that at the 5-year mark, it almost appears as if you know, the presidency comes to an exam. that mark becomes very, very challenging, you know, in terms of that election. You could see it in 2017, you could see it in 2007. That becomes a very challenging moment, you know, for all presidents who have come into power. And we hope in 2027, maybe, you know, with the kind of bold ambition that the president has put forward, it will be a smooth movement.
Yeah. Tobias, when you look at how everything is now unfolding, the president himself was perhaps borrowing from his manifesto and his promise to Kenyans that the moment I'll put down the Bible, business will be on. And as we speak this particular morning, either to be confirmed, 6 judges will be sworn in.
Correct.
And when you look at how the whole of that progress is taking shape, you would imagine what's in plenty for the president to tackle.
Correct. And I'm glad the president is doing this, because this election was about issue-based.
Yes.
And it's an issue-based election. Each side promised that once elected, we'll do A, B, C, and D. And that has made the citizen to be, to account to these leaders in terms of what are you going to do when you come in. And the president, His Excellency Ruto, has done the first thing that he promised about dealing with the issue of the judges, and he's going to appoint the judges. So we look at even his manifesto, we look at his commitment during the elections campaign. There are specific items that he said, once I get in, immediately I am sworn in, I'll do A, B, C, D. And he's done that. And he looks like a man of his word. So we are looking forward to seeing a great achievement in his government. And of course, he has the support of the citizen. Yes.
But Edward, do you think Kenyans are overambitious? There is now too much pressure on him to deliver. In 100 days, you want to see this happening. Okay, you said you're going to do this. Fine. We want to see instant change.
Well, I don't think it's over ambition. I think it's just that we have to appreciate the context of our presidential office. And the context of our presidential office, if you look at past presidencies, even before the 2010 constitution, is that the office of the president is heavily loaded. It's an inverted triangle, so to speak, with a lot of expectations and power that the presidency wields. There are decisions which cannot happen in this country without the presidency, either taking the political stand or actually appending his signature. And so I think with those expectations, Kenyans feel that it is only the president who can cause things to happen. And it's unfortunate because we are in a devolved government system whereby we need to come up with now the turn around the triangle, and so that it is bottom heavy. And I think with the bottoms up philosophy that the Kenya Kwanza came up with, it will be important to see how that level of expectation is devolved at the lowest level. Counties are able to get things working, and you don't need the president to do anything much at that level. Ideally, the county governments are working effectively, the public service or the civil service is working effectively, the private sector has been incapacitated, you know, and now systems are working. And you can just look at it from, you know, the president's promise to judiciary in terms of expanding the number of small claims courts to 100, you know, across the country. That is going to be very significant in terms of ensuring that justice is served, expedited, and now you are trying to depressurize, you know, that level of moving the presidency from reporting and responding to every kind of call and, you know, and that is coming up.
Yes.
We hope that now we will see the president not being trolled and asked, you know, minor things on social media, and the weighty things will now come to the presidency that actually require his attention. So we hope that...
And he's very much aware of this.
Yeah, and so we hope that, you know, once the system is working and you get parliament to do its role, the county governments are accountable, the civil service is accountable, then the rest of the items will flow by gravity. And we hope that it will now be able to action, you know, the presidential manifesto to come to pass.
Okay. Gentlemen, I'm told that we need to take a break, and we come back. We're still having this discussion. We are not yet started, all right? This is just a warm-up. We have got so much in store for you, so stick around. If you have a cup of coffee, grab it. We'll be right back. Now, Tobias, let me just come back to you now and understand. Now, the president talked about one important thing here: the issue of fertilizer to be reduced from 6,500 per 50 kg bag to 3,500 shillings starting next week. From the Kenya Association of Manufacturers, how do you take this home?
Well, I must laud the president because this one will support the agriculture sector of the economy in terms of enabling farmers to get fertilizer on time, for them to produce, to farm and produce. However, we need to be very cautious in terms of the sustainability. If it is a subsidy program, normally subsidies are short-term initiatives that are lauded. But we need to think about the future.
Yes.
And the future is create facilities for the fertilizers to be manufactured and produced locally instead of importing it. Once you create facilities within the country with specific incentives for investment or production of fertilizer, then one, we will address the issue of costs. Two, we'll address the issue of availability because it is no longer imported. So it is a lauded effort by government to reduce the fertilizer cost at 3,500, but let's look at the sustainability by putting up mechanism for the fertilizer to be produced and manufactured locally.
Yeah. The issue is sustainability because, and he talked about because of the short range period.
Correct.
And that is why it's going to be available around 1.4 million bags as from next week. But then somebody will ask a question: is it a DAP? Is it the CAN? Is it urea? Or what kind of fertilizer is going to be available? When you look at the productivity, there is that issue of demand and supply.
Yes.
How is it going to balance so that at the end of the day there is no quick supply and then all of a sudden we run out of stock?
Yes. I think we already have the government agencies with statistics of where we have the largest production of specific farm produces. For example, if we are looking at maize, as a main staple food of this country, we know, we've mapped which areas we produce enough maize. And these areas require the fertilizer immediately. So based on the records that the Ministry of Agriculture has, then we'll be able to redistribute the fertilizer to the most required areas to produce food. Because we are trying also to address food security.
Yes.
In the long run.
In the long run.
Yes.
And Edward, it's about agriculture that is based on his manifesto.
Yes.
Agriculture, value addition, productivity, and so much more. Perhaps Kenyans were looking for an immediate remedy. When you talk of what is the president going to say in his inaugural speech? Somebody talked about sijasikia akisema unga irudi from 250 to 130 ama to 99 shillings. What are the hits and misses in his first speech?
I think it will require a bit of looking at the context, because there are dynamics in terms of presidential acceptance speech making. One, is it that you want to strike the populist tone in terms of appeasing the public and saying, you know, this marks as a commemoration of our victory at the political level?
Yes.
Or are you speaking to the presidential standard as a president of the country and saying, this is the new direction we are going in, and the flight we are taking will move this country from here to this other side? And I think that was the kind of balance that was being debated. And I could actually see that if you look at the tone that was set by the deputy president vis-a-vis the tone that was the president set, there was an issue to do with, is it a campaign victory speech vis-a-vis, is it the presidential tone that you actually set a new flight direction for the country?
What was there?
I think it was a mix of both. And the president was giving also a flight direction in saying, this is how we are going to realize, you know, the commitments we made in our manifesto.
Yeah.
But most important, he was also trying to give a very strong message that is not just going to be talk and no action. And so you have a number of immediate directives that he gave, and he actually went ahead and started implementing them, which for me means that the tone he is setting, even for his cabinet ministers, is you're not going just to speak about issues and disappear from the scene. There will be need for follow-through. And I see that in terms of even the presidency that Obama put forward when he came into office. You know, you want a president who can track changes in terms of following through and combing through the nuts and bolts of whatever commitment he says. And that becomes important in our space, whereby sometimes ministries get caught up in the bureaucracy and they do not want to move out of their mandates and execute implementation. Take a context, for example, the housing ambition. The housing ambition requires not just the Ministry of Housing or Public Works as it is. You require Ministry of Roads, because some of the houses will be on roads reserves. You require the Ministry of Lands to be there. You require the Ministry of Trade and Industrialization. You require Tobias here to ensure that manufacturers are giving you the raw products. So you need a level of doing in multi-agency approach and an energy to commit yourself and move away from bureaucracy. Otherwise, every now and then, the president will be calling a meeting to see what is the status of this, and people will be going around in circles.
But that's the true nature of the situation, because the president cannot act unilaterally. He'll have to do lots and lots of meetings, and that is where now we'll start having the drawbacks. You know, but that has not happened because of a reason not to. And
that requires the president to really put out this multi-agency approach of working and say, in this project, which agency plays the lead? Which agency plays the support functions?
Kenya Association of Manufacturers is there.
Yes, and it requires them, even as manufacturers, to put their act in order in terms of the memorandum that they will be now sharing with the respective line minister, which will be either trade and industrialization, to say, as manufacturers, this is our core ask in terms of enabling the business sector to work. And that means at that level of the cabinet, there will be need for very experienced technocrats who can come in from a solutions perspective to ensure that the system does not have any form of blockages.
Yeah.
And people come in with an opportunity of, let us make it work, not let us keep on raising problems.
But you see now, when you talk of raising problems, because at the end of the day, Kenya is a manufacturing country, and when you look at his speech, the president is more of, let's save and produce our own and let's solve our own problems, rather than going and borrowing, because that has been his main problem ever since. So it seems like the Kenya Association of Manufacturers, there is so much weight for you as an association and Kenya in general to deliver.
Very true. And from where we sit, we've already identified and come up with our own manifesto in terms of what are the priority issues that we wish the current government should tackle to increase the manufacturing GDP contribution from the current 8.2 to probably 20 in the next 10, 15 years. We've identified areas, and one of them is, of course, look at the global competitiveness. Whatever is produced here needs to be competing with what is produced in other countries in terms of quality and in terms of price. Are we able to do that? Yes, we are. So we are able to produce anything in this country so long as we get the necessary incentives and the necessary frameworks that are required for the production.
Yes.
We rely a lot on raw materials, and of course materials come from outside the country, and some of those raw materials need to be accessible.
Yes.
And we need also to have a plan of to produce some of those items locally. The raw material, from the raw material to intermediate product to finished goods, then we produce. So it's upon the government, as they are focusing on job creation, is upon the government to see that the only way they're going to create job is establish manufacturing plants, because manufacturing plants employ thousands and thousands of people.
Yes.
Both at the shop floor, at the distribution end, at the marketing end, and all the value chain.
And the reason why I asked you that, because now, you know, that heavy load is going to come back to you, because manufacturing begins from the Juakali.
Correct.
It begins from the border, you know, the assembly plants in Kenya.
Yes.
We have got assembly lines in
the SMEs.
The SMEs.
Yes.
So you have got a lot of work to do, Tobias, and probably we'll come back here to give us an overview and a report card. Perhaps Tobias will also be here to tell us, you will give us your report card. But
yes,
right about then, let's cross over and talk to Hamisi Mbogo, who is a governance expert, also to give us his opinion. Director, yes?
Ways of accelerating national development is through collaboration with county governments. As Deputy President, I witnessed firsthand the tremendous potential of intergovernmental synergy and look forward to scaling up our capacity to harness these bountiful possibilities. Because of this realization, I have no hesitation in accelerating the transfer of outstanding functions to counties together with the attendant resources. To promote budget efficiency and minimize disruptions and delays in devolved service delivery, my administration commits to take necessary measures to secure the timely disbursement of revenues allocated to county governments.
All right, and now let's talk to Hamisi Mbogo, governance expert, to give us his opinion on what transpired today. Hamisi, good morning. The event of yesterday now calling upon all Kenyans to wake up and roll up their sleeves. I don't know, what's your opinion?
Yeah, thank you, Victor, and thank you, my sister from USA and all of us. Yesterday we watched very keenly the speech of the president, and especially those of us who are interested in county government, the stroke local government system. We were really anxious to see what is he going to say about it. So when he touched about disbursement of funds from central government to county government, I was so happy and keenly listening, because it has been a big problem in terms of the funds. having been part of the system when we're preparing the county government legislation drafts, one of the recommendations we had made is we're taking local authorities that have big debts. So the first thing was the national government should have cleared the debt so that we start from an empty place, but they didn't. But we're saying it's okay, it's never too late. And also the other bottleneck is when the budget is done, the time between the budget the allocation from the parliament and also the authority from control of budget to counties has been a challenge. If it can be smooth and it can be fastened, our county governments will receive adequate funding at the right time. And then we have to also check the funds that are moving down. With the report that we're getting from the county government is some of the monies are not accounted for, and this has to be done. So I'm happy about the comments that he's making and also the action that he's planning to do. County government will improve because that is where you touch every citizen of this country in terms of those services. These counties were established to provide services at the lowest level possible of our nation so that everybody feels that the government is doing something. So we have to close gap between the expenditure and also the income that is coming from national government, the income that they are collecting. Let's look at it. How much are they collecting? Are they going up or down? One of the papers we read was they are collecting less than local authorities used to collect. What is the problem? And therefore, we need to do this. On the first term of the 2010, the counties do something because they were busy, they were buying vehicles, they were making offices. But 10 years later, it should be just service provision, and these monies must be collected properly, must be spent properly, must be recorded, and therefore the citizens would feel, oh, this government is doing something. So yes, I'm happy if that is going to happen. Especially, we saw, even now as we speak, there are counties that have not paid their staff for 1, 2, or 3 months' salaries. That should not happen in a decentralized system of government with annual budget. So yes, we have to do these things, and I'm happy if it can be done. Let's see. Let's give the benefit of doubt to the new administration, and some of us who are writing research who are keenly watching the next 6 months so that we can be able to write a report, whether there is a progress or we're doing things the way they used to be done. Victor.
Just hold on there before I let you go. Gentlemen, it's about delivery. And one most important thing is the president, you alluded to that, is that he's going to strengthen the counties and disbursement of funds, something that has been a very big problem, because you have to realize that instead of focusing on the presidency, you have to strengthen devolution. I don't know what's your take on that, Edward.
I think it's important that the president has already set the tone for effective county government working. What we need is now to go back, and this will also be well managed by the CS who will appoint to handle devolution issues, to strengthen the Intergovernmental Relations Authority, because that now allows better coordination between the national government and the county governments, and working together with the county governments that actually are forming themselves under regional economic blocks. You know, you have the Council of Governors, you have the Devolution Conference that is always annual. These are spaces that now they can be able to now see where are the challenges in terms of disbursement that is happening. But also, we should not be very quick to blame the government in terms of disbursement when absorption is an issue. Because we see counties being very ambitious, fleets of cars for the governors. You know, every CEC wants to have also the latest Range Rover and Lexus, and the question is that then what remains to work for the people? What is this prestige that CECs want to have equivalent to the cabinet secretaries at the national level? Yet at that level, absorption is an issue, and even the essential services that you want at the county level, they are not being effected.
Yeah.
And so what happens? You will have a very bloated county government. You will have staffing that is not commensurate to the needs and the resources available, and you will now be operating at a minimum or even a negative even before you've started your devolution work.
Yes.
And so we need to relook at that, the prestige and the allure of extravagance at the county level, and try to say this is public service. It is not you being a mini CS at the county level and you want to have all the perks and you also want to be flying business class. You also want to be on a daily basis going to Mombasa for retreats and conferences and workshops. So what will you work with if at the county level you're not being very keen on capping expenditure and you want to have this week, the county assembly is doing a benchmarking. Next week the CECs are doing a benchmarking. So what will remain to work for the people?
It sounds easy.
Yeah.
It sounds easy. Implementation is another thing.
Yes, it's another thing, and we need to tell our county governments to really be prudent,
right,
and mindful of cutting down on excesses, and to ensure that little resource that is coming to the county is well utilized, and from gaps which will emerge, you have MPs who can raise those issues at the parliament and say this is where we need national government intervention. And so then we're able to bring in the likes of Tobias with his team. What are the kind of areas we can activate in terms of business development, growth, and the private sector? And so then you'll have counties starting to work, as long as we can ensure that, for example, revenues offices in counties are effective and can account for the little they are getting, then you will see that public service and the delivery of services at the level of the county is more beneficial, and you really don't need to have a Nairobi delegation coming to a county.
Okay, before I come to you, Tobias, let me just get back to you, Hamisi Boga. Hamisi, let me just get your point on this. We have got a new regime altogether. So how is going to be the connection between the county governments having their manifestos and their blueprints in terms of execution of their agenda in their respective counties connected to the national government's agenda?
Two things which are coming very clear in my mind, that like what my brother said, we must strengthen the intergovernmental relations because they have a role to play. The moment you strengthen that relationship of national and county, so that if there are any issues to do with lacking of resources, issues to do with capacities, can be discussed. But first thing first, I think we didn't do it in 2013 and we didn't do it very well in 2017. The new people who are coming into the county, we are talking about the MCAs and the CECs, there must be a thorough induction of the roles and responsibilities. What are you here for? I know we all have an idea of what we're supposed to be, but there must be a script that we are here because of providing service. To provide services, your role is X, Y, Z. If the county assembly is oversight, are they doing it? Do they know the skills, especially the new ones? We need to have a thorough induction in the next 1 month or so that everybody is aware. There should be actually a booklet of our roles and how to play those roles and what will be the oversight entry point. So that would be helping at the county level. And then the intergovernmental relations is to help the connection, because we are one national government with units inside. So they must be working together. Because when we had a challenge of health issues, everybody was affected. So you cannot say my government in Mandera, my government in Mombasa. It is our government. If they must be solved locally and nationally, and this is where the intergovernmental relation is so crucial. So I'm happy if this can be done immediately, if they settle down in terms of their functions. First things first, let's have a thorough induction, and we are prepared. It's better to do a thorough induction than buying cars and whatever. So if the money can be spent in the next 1 month or so that everybody is clear of the roles and responsibility and what sanctions can be done if somebody has gone out of the script. This will really help to do that. And then the oversight institution, the control of budget, the Senate, and even Parliament, if things go that way, these units have to open up and see what is happening. When they get a report from counties, what action do they take? What action has been taken against this? So there are some counties that have performed so well. Some of us have been writing about it. But there are others that will need a lift, need a push to be able to do what they're required to do. The other thing was the functions were not transferred, all of them.
Yes.
And this thing has come. In fact, during the process when we had the transition authority, we thought they will be taken step by step until you are ready for health, take health. Are you ready for infrastructure? But this was done one time in one circular of my colleague Wanyonyi. They were given all of them. Health came, everything came, minus the budgetary allocation for those functions. It was a big blow to the county government. Right. I hope this time around, every function must follow. Funds must follow functions. If you give somebody functions, resource them, so that, and also now oversight them so that they do the right thing. This has to be done. Victor and all of us must be watchful. Citizens, what are the roles of the citizenry? What are we supposed to do? We according to the Constitution, we are the owners of this Constitution. Have we played our role? Have we checked? Have we reprimanded? Have we recommended? Have we commended? You know, all these things, citizens must be regrouped again right now to also know their roles and responsibilities.
Yeah.
Bigger role in waking us up.
That hasn't been the policy that money follows functions. I don't know how it's going to be this time around. Hamisi, just hold on there. Don't go away. Tobias, the issue of every county, one product. How is it going to be achieved? Do you even have that in plan as an association?
Yes, it's one of the suggestions we've had, emulating the Ghana model, one industry in one district. It's very possible, but we need to assess based on productivity.
Yes.
In line with agro-processing, in line with the resources that are available for you to set up an industry in those specific areas. But it is very possible with the incentives available, you can set up industries anywhere in this country.
Yes.
Because investors just require an incentive. They require land. If you give them land, they require raw materials. If it is available in specific area, then they will invest in that factory. They'll set up a factory and employ people. So it is very possible, and it is working in Ghana. The other thing that we need to address, and I think I didn't see it in the presidential speech, two things. One is cutting down on expenditure. I know in any government, there's a lot they plan to do. We'll allocate these funds, we'll allocate these funds. But we need to see... Are you
talking about the national government?
The national government.
Right.
I'm going to the national government and the county government,
okay,
because it reflects both. We need to see both national government also being very vocal in cutting down expenditure. The wage bill, you've seen what happened in Kisii. You've seen what happened, I think it's also in Migori, where they put all the stuff in a stadium. Particularly, I saw the drivers and all that.
Kisii and Machakos.
Because you realize there's a lot of ghost workers. So we are spending a lot of money that would have gone to development on paying salaries. And you're paying salaries to people who you don't get output in terms of benefit to the citizen. So we need to really be serious in cutting down the expenditures, both at the county level and at the national level. The other item that I've not seen the national and the county government being vocal about is corruption. Corruption is a menace. In the past, we've heard that we are losing about 2 billion shillings almost every month.
Every day.
Every day, actually.
Yes.
Every day.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money. So we need the president and the county executives and the county governors to be very vocal and committed towards fighting corruption. Accountability will be very key on utilization of the resources that are given and governance within the county.
All right.
The public, the citizen, as an organization like us, we are committed towards engaging and holding them accountable. But as leaders in those respective areas, they also need to be vocal.
Absolutely.
Yes.
All right, gentlemen, let's take a break. When we come back, we still have got so much more lined up for you as well. We're not yet done. The show didn't answer. Let me just put it that way. We'll be right back.